Okay, I think we'll start off. For starters, I'd like to go through the statement of acknowledgement. So we would like to acknowledge that the land we meet on today is the traditional lands for the Gawler people and that we respect their spiritual relationship with their country. We also acknowledge the Gawler people as the custodians of the Greater Adelaide region and that their cultural and heritage beliefs are still as important to the living Gawler people today. First up, roll call. Do we have any apologies? No apologies? Okay. No motion. Are there any motions to grant leave of absences? No? And there's no current standing ones. So non-attendance, we have, who do we have? Oh, yes. Councillor Shanks, sorry, is a leave of absence. Okay, so I think we'll move on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest? No? Okay. In that case, we'll move on to the confirmation of the minutes of the last meeting held on the 3rd of August. I don't know if everyone's had an opportunity to read through the minutes, but there should be a copy in front of you if you want to flick through that. Otherwise, I'll get a mover and a seconder to move the passing of the minutes. Jack and Jade as a seconder. And if everyone's happy with those, all those in favour? Unanimously carried. So was there any business arising from the minutes? Oh, okay. Moving on then to items listed for discussion. First up, Climate Emergency Action Plan Working Group Update. Jack, I presume.
Right. So last month's meeting was a bit of a doozy. It went on for quite some time, which was good. It was a bit more of a workshop for the next steps. We had the Edge Consulting give a sort of review on a midway draft on the Climate Emergency Action Plan, and that was done through Zoom. I listened to about 3/4 of it before I had to run off. And it kind of sort of like overall sort of just saying that it was a pretty good draft in terms of where it's aiming at and the priorities. Some things to look at were community participation in general, like, and as a broad scope sort of viewpoint, and then a few other technical sort of aspects regarding greenhouse gas emission accounting. So that was all taken on board, and Tim Kelly will no doubt be working onto that soon. And in the meeting, the idea that's of importance for this sort of group is the idea of youth in the SEEP. So obviously, climate change is one of those intergenerational equity issues where it'll be impacting not just us, but future generations. So Tim and Jack from Council want to sort of incorporate a youth voice into the report to sort of highlight and prioritise the importance of these issues in our local community. So Tim Kelly, the environmental officer, wants to come in and chat with us, and I think that's been sorted for next month's meeting. And so he'll kind of give a bit more of a deeper understanding of the document and our next steps, and sort of try and gain a perspective from all of us as to what we as youth and sort of the next future leaders of our community want in the document. And there's also the idea, just as a sort of additional point, was the Climate Clever app. So if anyone's watched Fight for Planet A, there's a cool app called Climate Clever, which is a good way of greenhouse gas counting. And for those that are in schools, it's advertised to schools as a potential tool for teachers to use to sort of educate students on that issue. So just as an aside, and that was something that came up quite frequently in our discussions for community participation. And yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay. I don't think we need a mover and a seconder for that report. Cool. Okay, moving on then to the Youth Advisory Panel update. The Youth Advisory Panel has not met up since my last discussion about the panel last month. So there is no update. Another meeting is planned, but it's, a while away still. So moving on then to the Youth Development Officer verbal update.
Thank you, through the chair. I'll provide the update again as we still in the process of appointing a youth development officer. Interviews were held last week, but we're currently finalising the paperwork and all the requirements for the applicant, a successful applicant, and hopefully by our next meeting, which I understand will be in November, we'll be able to bring him or her along to meet you all. So that'd be great. And certainly we'll announce it before then, once we do have an appointment. By way of an update, youth-based programs update. So we're currently in term 3 of the school term programs. In August, we had a total of 11 programs for the month and a total of 92 young people participating. We have 3 programs running. Our Tuesday, we have the Living Smart program, which is being run by the Gawler Environment Centre. There's 7 sessions which end on the 22nd of September, and they have about 6 participants each week, so that's a set course that they're doing, and it's being very popular, so they're liking that. On a Wednesday, there's a Learn to Draw. We had 41 participate in August, and our sessions for the last 3 weeks have been fully booked, so it's been really, really popular. Learn to Draw Aliens and Robots, that one, so very popular. On a Thursday, we have our acoustic afternoons with Crafty, and we've had 34 participate in August for that program, so really popular. Today, and as you'll see on in front of you, we have launched the October School Holiday Program. So this school holidays is a mixture of fun activities and skill development. So there's 3 posters there that you'll see from the programs. The holiday, October holiday fun and skill development one has everything that's being run on it. So by way of fun activities, we've got Learn to Draw Sea Creatures with Luke Halford, Write a Song with Crafty, a polymer clay lanyard making and record a song. Skill development, we have 2 separate posters for those. We have 2 level 1 barista courses being run, one on the 30th of September and one on the 7th of October. So there's only 7 available in each of those days. So we're hoping that they normally get sold out. So we're hoping that that will be popular for people looking for barista qualifications. Then we have another program called How to Adult, Getting a Job. We've changed this into a 1-day format so that we could still run it online if we need to. And that's being held on the 30th of September. And that is to help through the recruitment process and assisting with interview preparation and resume preparation as well. So I think that both of those will be really popular. And they've gone onto our website. We've got Facebook posts, and that's all on Eventbrite for tickets. I'm hoping that will be they'll be really popular. The other few things, just general updates, is the Gawler Land Party that was rescheduled to Saturday, 26th of September. That's still going ahead, and we're trying to do some more promotion in the next few weeks for that on Facebook. So that's held in the Civic Centre from 10 a.m. till midnight in the main hall where we are. And it's a lock-in event for under 18s with a minimum age of 12 years. So that's all on Facebook, and there's also some information on the Gawler Youth portal because there are no tickets at the door for that one. We have two updates in regard to some grant opportunities. So as communicated in at our last meeting, we were successful in applying for a grant of $5,000 under the Commissioner's Community Conversations. So this is some funds to have some conversations with children and young people about how they feel about the government response post-COVID. Once we have a new youth development officer, then I'll arrange a meeting with the Commissioner to discuss a plan to deliver that. We've got until next March to deliver that grant, so we want to make sure we're putting lots of thought into that and getting your feedback as well. Another grant opportunity that's just been released and open to SA councils is one that's called Youth-Led Recovery Grants. The aim of this grant is to undertake activities and initiatives led by young people aged 12 to 24 years that respond to the impact of the COVID-19 public health emergency. Now, in case you're wondering, or, I sought clarification too about a youth-led approach. That's where it actively involves young people in the planning, decision-making, delivery, facilitation, reflection and evaluation of the initiatives, which is wonderful. So we're really, really keen to get some feedback from you. We're just currently working through what the details are and what information there is for this grant. And of course, we want to involve the new Youth Development Officer. So applications for this grant close on Monday, the 28th of September. So we are asking for a motion tonight to support an application for this grant, this Youth-Led Recovery Grant, with the details to be discussed with the chairperson of the Gawler Youth Advisory Committee prior to submission. So if that's something that we can agree on, that we could have a motion to support that application.
I can't see why not. Azzo?
I think that's a great idea to apply for that grant, and whether it's something as simple as undertaking a process which is similar to the original consultation for the youth space, or something bigger about connecting the community and looking at those that side of the effects of COVID. I think it would be absolutely excellent. So I'll if the motion needs to be put now, then I'll put that now.
Okay, excellent. So we move the motion that we support the group and okay. I'll need a seconder for that then, I guess. Let's go with Renee. And all those in favour? Unanimously carried. Okay. How was it? Or
I just have two more. Sorry, through the chair. Just two more brief updates. The Mayor's Christmas card competition for 2020 has opened on the 28th of August. There's some extra entry forms at the door if you'd like to take a few with you. That competition closes on the 25th of September, so we're looking forward to a successful year of that again. And winning entrants will be invited to a mayoral awards ceremony on Monday, the 26th of October. And then finally, the Youth Artist and Sportsperson Sponsorship Program, round 2 for 2021 is now open, and it closes on the 2nd of October 2020. And we're about to do some Facebook promotion starting tomorrow for that. Okay.
Renee?
Sorry, do you do any promotion through the schools? Because I never hear anything about it through school, and I think it's such a good program that needs to be promoted further.
Through the chair. Is that the Christmas card competition? Oh, the sports person. Normally, I'm pretty sure they do, but I'll make myself a note and send them an extra email just to get that raised in assembly or maybe in the newsletters. Thank you. Good idea.
Okay, excellent. If that's all the report, do we need to move and second that? No, okay. Moving on then to vehicle on the road testing, the VORT testing. There have been some updates regarding this. Me and Isaac went to talk to the mayor earlier last month, relatively early last month. I think it was around the 15th or so, something around there, 19th maybe. Anyway, and yes, we talked to her about what we discussed at the last YAC meeting, including the writing of a letter together to send to the Honourable John Dawkins for him then to pass on to the, to be appointed at that point in time, Minister for Transport and Road Safety, so that we could get the ball rolling and get vort testing back up and going in Gawler. We had a relatively lengthy discussion, I think, covered a couple of topics and yeah, got some work done. I don't know if you want to speak on that or you'll...
We did, discuss a number of topics, and that was good that the mayor had, invited us along and found a way to go about this vort testing, and it, looks promising. We just have to cross our fingers and hope for the best. But other than that, we did talk in length about the positive outcomes that are coming out of the youth space, the high participation. So we definitely made the mayor aware of the success of the programs that are happening out of the youth space. And we did talk briefly also about seeing how the YAC can be involved in the process of making their voices heard in regard to who the next, I'm not sure how to say this, but making sure that the new youth youth development officer is on board with everything that's been happening in the youth space and helping them out to fit into their new role once they come in, and which I think will be very important for us to do, seeing as we have all been around here for a while and we know generally what goes on in the youth space.
So yeah, it was a relatively lengthy discussion. We covered a good number of topics and tried to show up the YAC as much as possible. Show off the YAC, that one. Anyway, I think that was about it. I don't know if you had any update regarding the vort testing? Okay, cool. So, okay. I think that's about it then with that. Should we move on then to items listed for discussion at future meetings? Councillor Davies?
I think it's probably, council passed its last budgets a few weeks ago, so it's probably good to start working on resubmitting a application from the YAC about the next budget.
So then the proposal the YAC made, was below the line at the end of things?
Yep.
Okay. So no funding for us there then. That's okay. We'll probably definitely, I think, look at making that proposal again in the following year and keep that rolling. For those of you who aren't aware, we made the YAC made a proposal to council that we sponsor a youth space trainee to basically, initially it was to learn basically elements of Ebony's job so that Ebony could go on holidays and stuff and the youth development space didn't just pause, but also to train up a replacement should Ebony leave the role, which is relatively amusing given the current scenario. And we were looking at funding for a trainee. It was basically a qualified trainee course, and while the trainee was working basically part-time with Ebony, I think it was a Cert 3 in business they would be completing. So it would be half TAFE, half learning experience sort of thing. And we proposed that, and clearly nothing's come of it yet, but it's all ready for next year. So, okay. Any other items listed for discussion? Jack, you wanted to speak on that?
Yeah, thank you. I had another question for discussion at future meetings, or items listed, sorry. Because I have Tim Kelly and Jack and probably Catherine from the SEEP coming in to speak with everyone. I was hoping maybe we could spend some time brainstorming and verbalizing some views on sort of like the points that were in the last, the last meeting that I put a motion through about sort of climate change and climate action, the engagement of youth in the topic, and the respective governance of such issues. But I'm not sure if that fits in sort of like these types of meetings, or if it'd have to be like a workshop or like if you make a Google form or something like that. Wasn't sure how that sort of exactly sits. So I just wanted to probably get some clarification as well.
CEAP, sorry, stands for Climate Emergency Action Plan. So that's
Right.
the group that puts together on that.
There's a few different ways in which you can go about it. So if you want to be part of this forum, we can suspend meeting proceedings, can't we, Councillor Davies? And have a bit more of a chat, so that's a bit more informal. You can also choose to do a workshop, so if you'd like to report changes about a workshop, that can also happen. And obviously that just means having another night, another kind of people come in. But potentially maybe an online forum is the best way to start, get some people talking before we come face to face, because I think sometimes that sort of gets people's juices flowing a little bit better. So maybe start there and then we can decide whether or not it might be best to spend meeting proceedings in the meeting and then bring the views back into the meeting so people can elaborate on it.
Right, yeah, that sounds good. I'm happy with that. With the like a form sent between now and next month, I can make one up. Yeah, easy. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, okay, cool. Any other items listed for discussion or no? Okay. In that case, we'll move on to questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice? Isaac?
Right, okay, cool. I have a few questions without notice. We'll start with a couple which come from our conversation with the Mayor the other day about the Youth Development Officer recruitment process. And then I'll move to some environmental ones, and then a couple just in light of the new council budget. So to start with the Youth Development Officer ones, so is the selection criteria available to the public, or is that available to this committee in any way?
The truth check was available to the public when the position was released. So obviously closed now, so it's no longer available. But if you still like to see that, we can certainly make that available for you. So it's not this whole information is not confidential. So if you'd like to see that, we can circulate the position description.
Yeah, that would be good. I just wanted to double check that was publicly available before I asked for that. Yeah. Thought that might be the case. And so another one which in a way arises from the budget, where it mentions funds for the implementation of the Gawler Youth Development Plan. So I'm happy for this one to just be answered verbally and not recorded in the minutes. But what steps are left for the implementation of the Gawler Youth Development Plan?
I guess the plan itself is a pretty broad ranging plan. So I wouldn't have thought there are particular steps to implement it per se. So it's not where some of our plans have action going that we follow. The youth development plan is a bit broad. So many of these that we already do implement that. We're actually due to finish that final review. Obviously, the youth space open and it might happen. So yeah, but maybe in the next 6 months or so. So it's hard to say what other things that we need to do. Does that make sense? I'm happy to maybe in our next meeting we'll talk about it a little bit more and what's in there, or maybe time when perhaps after kind of when you guys have come, the next one after that, to talk about the plan a little bit and what's in it. I mean, because everyone, I'm sure a lot of people on the table have never seen that. I don't really know what's in there, so we can have a keep up that a little bit more. Maybe just want to chat about it.
I think so. Maybe we can add that to business the next meeting, or items listed for discussion at future meetings. So that was also a precursor to this next question, which is probably quite a technical one, which is how is council sought to ensure that the implementation of this plan is reflected through the recruitment process?
I guess, let everyone notice and get you enough to do it once.
Now moving to a couple of environmental questions, which are unrelated. I believe I'll just have a little bit of a preamble to this, just so we're on the same page about what I'm talking about. But at Gawler Park, there's some nets which prevent plastic and litter from entering. I cannot remember which para it is, or where. I think it's the North para, from memory. And through the side entry pits where the storm water comes down from the road into those pits and then goes out into the reserve there and into the para. So I believe this is referred to in the budget as gross pollutant traps, from what I could see. I was just wondering if this could be taken on notice. The following questions: that how often are these gross pollutant traps emptied? Secondly, so I'll just wait for you. I'll finish writing down. How often are these gross pollutant traps replaced? They were currently missing. They were recently missing for a couple of weeks. And I was wondering if there was a specific reason for that. Also, does this measure in the budget allow for cleaning up where these gross pollutant traps haven't necessarily caught all of the pollutants? And is there a plan to clean up any of these pollutants which have gone past the side entry pits in recent weeks? Okay, thank you. And then questions about a couple of items in the budget. No, just in the budget, it talks about 3 waste bins per household in Gawler. I'm wondering if 3 waste bins are currently available to every property in Gawler. So that, I believe, would be the general waste, recycling, and then the green waste. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And then will the Gawler Aquatic Centre be closed at any point during the redevelopment? It's currently closed. Yeah. 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 Okay. I think the question was more targeted. Oh, sorry, Councillor Davies. So has that redevelopment, maybe you can ask this Councillor Davies or Erin, but has that redevelopment already taken place? Do more works need to occur into the future? In that case, provided it's staying open from that point, there's no further questions.
Okay, were there any other questions without notice? Councillor Davies?
So has there been any progress on the part of the Gawler Reconciliation Action Plan involving the yak?
The reconciliation action plan is currently under review. So that part, I know that we really that one, but I remember there was the action working group, reviewing the plan, but once that starts,
I know that in the past, when the Youth Advisory Committee was doing leadership trainee days, we did a cultural awareness training day. I don't know how many people attended that. That was quite a while ago, I think, but it was run by Dale, who used to work at the TAFE in Gawler, and yeah. I was wondering if, under questions for that notice, could we potentially look at running another one of those for the Youth Advisory Committee members? Because that might also play into that reconciliation as a youth committee.
So one of the internally, we can start to start with that team, got to have a session of leadership team, so got to evolve now throughout the organization.
I don't know if do we need to move that we get a turn or something, or just leave you to. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, as in investigate that for future discussion. Cool. No, I think I don't even know if I can move motions. Can I as the chair? No, there you go. I think we should have it covered then. In that case, moving on to motions without notice. Oh, Isaac, you had another question?
Quickly, just to clarify, I forgot to say this before, but in relation to the questions I asked, can I please ask that all of them the answers be included in the minutes except for the ones that were answered verbally by Erin, but ask that the Gawler Aquatic Centre one also be in the minutes, even though that was answered verbally.
We may not typically feel or I might not be able to get that in the minutes of them to get another officer and I'll be able to get around past 50. It's just a technical question I can't answer. So yeah, I can't include it in this one. The next one, but that's okay.
That's fine. I've forgotten the procedure, but what I meant was for the next for them to be presented in the next meeting. I'm not sure which section that would
response to be minuted.
Yes, yeah.
That we receive at the next meeting.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, moving on then to motions without notice. Are there any motions without notice? Nope. Okay, excellent. In that case, Isaac. Do you have something?
Yep. Actually, I'll move it now so that we can get out of the way with. But the I think might move now if everyone else is happy with it to resubmit the budget submission for the use space training without any amendment to it except for the dates for the next budget, if that suits everyone else.
We won't be very complicated process that everyone might have known for that one. So actually, I actually did on behalf of the team. So we'll do that on the late November. So I mean, considering roll that, what might be under construction, but what happens without the administration part. But that is on the
Jack?
So I just had a question. Are we able to receive feedback on sort of why it wasn't above the line, so that way we can sort of workshop it so that way it's a bit more, say, like appealing to certain characteristics in order to get it above the line next? So this is for the 2022 budget we're talking about? Yeah.
Councillor Davies, you raise your hand. Oh, there we go.
I think the biggest thing is just that we completely had a major disaster, and most of our budget changes went around into relief and all sorts of things, like a couple $1 million worth and everything. So I think it just fell out of the priority list. So I think it is something that, I mean, the reason I mentioned to bring it back up again is that, you know, this is something that it's not, no one was particularly against it as far as I could tell when it came up. When it had come up before, you know, elected members were like, oh, this sounds like a good idea, but it just didn't make it past the priority threshold for this year, basically, rather than it being disliked or anything like that.
Also, do we want to maybe just circulate that I guess the proposal that we made, the documents for all our new members as well, so they can read up and get an idea on what we're talking about. Okay, and yeah, in that case we can bring it up. Oh, Isaac?
Is there a way to maybe have it not quite as finalised as I originally said, but to have it in the minutes so that council can see, as Erin said, that we're passionate about doing this, but also have it put on the agenda for another meeting? Because I would think it would be put in items for discussion at a future meeting, but then will council necessarily note that?
Doesn't lock you into the exact business case, you can change it, but it lets them know that you've understood the other priorities that you're really on that. That might be
We'll be able to do that as like an expression of interest in that being done.
So, yeah, sort of like council advisory for reference to council that they acknowledge the council's priorities in the 2021 budget related to COVID and expression of interest in recently in the advisory traineeship for 21-22. And then we can do another motion when you're ready that says we're recently officially.
Yep.
But also then acknowledging that you know that as a priority.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Do we need a mover and a seconder for that, I presume? So Isaac's happy to move. Do we have someone happy to second? Let's go with Talon. And all those in favour? Unanimously carried. Excellent. In that case, I call the meeting closed at 7:14. And our next ordinary meeting is Monday, the 2nd of November, commencing at 6:30.